I was an annoying little shit, rooting around where I should not have been. My stepdad's standard-issue kit bag, a chance discovery at the bottom of a cupboard, was bulbous, made of hard-wearing beige tarpaulin, had a single shoulder strap, and felt intriguingly heavy. It carried the promise of hidden gold. I glanced around quickly to check my mischief had not been noticed and loosened the drawstring, which had been woven tightly through metal hoops. The first piece of treasure trove was a pair of South African military leather boots, deep oxblood, almost burgundy in colour. They still had soil from a foreign land, brittle and desiccated, on the soles. Medals and badges, drawn from deeper into the duffel bag, were covered in dust. Then, at the bottom, I hit pay dirt, bullets of all types and sizes. Some were in small cardboard boxes, others lay loose. Knowing what I know now, most were traditional 7.62mm high-caliber rounds, copper-coloured, with a brass casing. I was only 5 and fascinated by echoes of war. No one in our house gave a damn about age restrictions, so I had already watched too many Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I loved Commando. Retired U.S. Special Forces Colonel John Matrix was my hero. He snapped necks and impaled enemies to avenge members of his former unit, murdered by mercenaries. He rescued hostages too. Now, 30 years later, I understand the shallowness of such stylized violence and theatrical pain. When blood is shed in battle, it pulses from arteries, rather than seeping from artfully concealed capsules. Old soldiers are pursued to their graves by ghosts of fallen comrades and the sins and sacrifices of their youth. My stepdad, Tony Drew, rarely spoke about his experience as a conscript on 6-month tours of duty in Angola, where South Africa was drawn into a civil war that began soon after the country's independence in 1975 and continued until 2002. That conflict merged into so-called border wars in Zambia and what is now Namibia. It included an equally ruthless bush war in Zimbabwe. It was the Cold War by proxy, with communist guerrillas attacking supply routes in small groups and dressing as peasants to stalk South African troops. Both sides turned a blind eye to atrocities. In many ways, it was our Vietnam. The public knew only half the story. To this day, many veterans feel duty-bound to suppress their memories of a brutal, undeclared and unconventional war. When Tony did refer to army life, usually at weekend braais, where the wives of friends would come armed with cake and custard slices, he preferred soft-focus reminiscence. He would talk of the depth of the friendships he'd formed on active duty, and the lighter side of military life, touch rugby on the beach during downtime. Tales of firefights were off-limits. The situation was complicated by apartheid and the racism of senior South African officers. The regime tried to manipulate public opinion by sending largely black regiments to do the dirtiest work. True equality could only be found in units of the special forces, such as the mixed-race Buffalo Battalion. Propaganda was designed to stoke anti-Soviet sentiment. I had no conception of apartheid at the age of 5. I was too young to understand that black people, like our maid Sarah, were not allowed into the city to work without a permit. I just thought that it was the norm that all the kids in my nursery school and my brother's primary school were white. As strange as it is to imagine today, racial discrimination wasn't even talked about. I was born in Mill Park Hospital, Johannesburg, in 1985. My brother Ben is 3 years older. My sisters, Natalie and Jessica, are younger. We lived initially in Benoni, in the East Rand, an old gold mining settlement whose name means son of my sorrows. It has been heavily developed in recent years. Our small house was on a dirt track. I attended Over the Rainbow Nursery, where teachers were predominantly Afrikaans. They were pretty staunch and didn't mess around. If you stepped out of line, which, to be honest, I did on a fairly regular basis, you got a clout with a wooden spoon. Looking back, I had a need for strong male guidance.